Hey everyone, in this video I'll be showing you the most overpowered Vex build in Borderlands 4. This is going to be great against the new content they'll be dropping with Bounty Pack 2 later this week. And what's amazing about this is the new pearlescent weapons will work great with this as well, because this build scales up our gun damage to insane numbers. And what's amazing about this is we can have it chain around to multiple targets here, taking down Bloom Reaper the Invincible in Ultimate Vault Hunter 6 extremely quickly. A quick overview of the build. We'll be using some of the strongest weapons in the game, but I'm also going to rank some recommendations based on where you're at in the game if you're starting up. High caliber being a big thing because this lets us pierce bullets, and with Jacobs we can actually have them pierce and chain enemies. And we're going to be mostly going into the green skill tree, which has some insane boosts to overall gun damage and also lifesteal, so we don't die. We have insane defensive, and our offenses are strong too because we turn our defense into our offense with Blood is Power. And with the Teen Witch class mod, we basically never go down. So to start off at level 1, I actually recommend using the Leech and Entombment early on. This gives us lifesteal, so at the start of the game, this is impactful because it only applies when we have a kinetic-based weapon, so no elements, but lifesteal just keeps us alive early game. Later on, Grave Sights ends up being the better choice. As a kill skill, this will give us more critical hit damage as we continue to get kills, which with the Mortal Terror later on, we can actually get them off doing critical hits, so this feeds itself. After which, again, if you're early on in the game, Bloodletter, it's best to stay in the middle for the early game, but later on, Grave Implement. Kill skill, we get increased gun damage. Now at 5 points, that's 20 per stack with a max 3 stacks. That's 60% extra gun damage when we get 3 kills or 3 crits if we're very lucky. But Grave Power lets us take our kill skill stacks up past 3, so this here now has 6 stacks for 120% gun damage. And Grave Sights now also get stacked up to 6 stacks for further increased gun damage and handling, which means we're very accurate with certain weapons. That gun handling is actually really nice. Now, Bloodletter is still really good. Adding Bleed still is extremely impactful. It's also nice to grab Guns and Needles because this is a kill skill that gives us our Repkit back, which actually does proc off Mortal Terror. But also target Prescience here. Gun damage gains critical hit chance against any part of enemies. This just flat out increases our overall damage because, again, we got more crit damage. I like to take 1 point in Guns and Needles as well because, again, getting your rep kit back quicker is very impactful, but you can just stick with the increased crit chance. Now, once we get down here, I like to go to the right-hand side, but you can go with the middle for more damage with Drink Full. I think that it's best to go over to this section here, and Ars Arcana. This gives us increased skill damage. Skill damage applies to our action skill, but skill damage is a bit more encompassing. It also would apply if we took Bleed. Most of the orange abilities here actually will apply Ars Arcana. So this is nice too if you did put points into that, or if you're in the early game. This is a really good skill. We're then going to come down and take Essence Leech. This gives us lifesteal just flat out at all times. And with a certain class mod, this will actually apply to overshield. It's really, really good. This also doubles our effect when we have our action skill active, meaning we're basically unkillable. And then this is further stacked up with Blood is Power. We get bonus kinetic damage, and bonus damage is great because these gun damage increases will be affecting this gun damage bonus that we get, so that 120% will boost this up even further. So this is bonus kinetic damage with guns based on our current lifesteal and our health is full. So with 3 points, it's 300% of your lifesteal. So we have some points here. We have some from our class mod. We got the 10% here, 20 when the action skill is active, and that ends up being anywhere from 90% of our total damage to 120. So yeah, that bonus kinetic damage becomes absolutely absurd in terms of our damage output. After that, I like to come over to Blood or Drink Full. This is a way to get our damage numbers going high because this increases our fire rate. On a lot of weapons, this is really good. And this actually brings us to, actually we'll get to our augment in a second here, where this impacts it greatly. Next, we got either Phase Pocket or Mortal Terror. I think Mortal Terror is the better option. I just want to briefly mention Phase Pocket. Depending on the weapon rolls that you got, this increased magazine size 30% is actually really nice, and the switch speed is good too. And this doubles the effect when the action skill is active, which is really nice when we have our action skill up. That basically just gives us a massive magazine size. Certain weapons benefit a lot from this, like the bod, for example. We want to be able to apply a lot of pellets onto the enemy, and this gives us more leeway if we have a fast fire rate. So I like this sometimes. It's not perfect, but I personally think that Mortal Terror is a little bit better. I just want to talk about this option here, especially depending on your weapons. I would recommend trying it out just to see if the extra magazine size benefits you. I do think that the critical hit chance or the kill skill activation when we crit enemies is really nice because that means that we're going to be activating gun damage increases, and it gets insane the damage output that we get. But again, Phase Pocket is really nice too. Now for our Augment and our Capstone. Vibe Check is really nice. So there's two options that we got. We got Vibe Check here. This is my personal preference. This makes it a charge skill, and activating it consumes all charge. It'll ricochet off enemies, which is amazing as Bloom Reaper and likely a new boss as well. And whenever we use this, the gun damage, basically when we hurt enemies with our gun, we're going to get this Eldritch Blast cooldown back quicker. It's doubling it. Because when we normally damage an enemy, we get our Eldritch Blast back faster. I also like Heart Piercer, which will use 20% of our current health. It does restore 150% of the sacrifice health. So you get a bunch of extra damage and a bunch of health back upon using this. This can be a little riskier, but I don't find that it's that bad, especially with the Team Witch class mod. You can use either of these. I slightly prefer using Vibe Check. We're also going to use for Augment Witchy Trigger Finger. Early on in the game, you can go with Geist Wave here or even Energy Vampire, but Witchy Trigger Finger is just by far the best. Whenever we use our Eldritch Blast, it fully refills our ammo. That's a boost to our DPS. It also gives us a 15% gun damage increase, and it's a 3-stack increase. It's not a kill skill, so it does not get impacted by Grave Power, but that's an extra 45% gun damage that we can get, and this lasts for 15 seconds. This is extremely effective because it makes the bod absolutely tear through every single boss in the game. We do have 11 skill points left once we get to the bottom of both these skill trees. Some people like Strike Me Down. This will actually bring you back up if you go down. This can be good against Bloom Reaper because you do a huge explosion that does 9,000 damage. Pretty effective. I also like to come over to this skill tree. So basically what we're going to be taking is an enchantment. So we get bonus kinetic damage with guns when our action skill is active. As mentioned, bonus kinetic damage is really nice. We want to have our action skill up as much as possible, so a 37.5% bonus damage is really nice when you consider the fact that we can get some extra gun damage increases from our skill tree. This then takes us down to our last point. There's a couple choices here. Conjunction will give us increased gun damage and more fuller health, and damage reduction when our health goes low. This can be nice because that's a 42% gun damage increase with the class when I got equipped here. Normally it'd be a 30% gun damage increase. Pretty nice, and then we can come down getting Full Moon for the action skill cooldown rate or any of these other abilities here. Alternatively, don't have to put points into Conjunction, and we can actually put those points into the Bloodletter here for the Bleed. And again, Bleed's really nice because it's going to give us, basically when we get critical hits, and if our skill gets a critical hit, which we could get with Keen Mind, this will apply Bleed, which does damage over time, and it's still really nice despite getting nerfed, so I like that. And then we can put our final point into Guns and Needles. So I want to cover a few different options here for those that like to switch things around. Now, as mentioned, the Team Witch class mod will be a fantastic choice here. You can go with some of the other ones like the Misericord, which is the new one. I don't find this work. Actually, this doesn't work at all in this build. I think that the Team Witch is the absolute best choice. There are many different roles that you can get on it. I have one here that has shotgun damage. It'll always have 10% life steal. It's really nice. But the big one that I look for is the skill rolls, especially in the red skill tree, the Grave Thirst. It's a kill skill, so it has 3 stacks that increases to 6 stacks. This gives us lifesteal 4.5% per stack. Again, Blood is Power converts lifesteal into damage, so we can get some crazy damage going. This also gives us Corporeal, which will give us Overshield, which is nice because that's going to help us survive a bit more. It also gives us increased damage dealt when we have that Overshield, and our class mod gives us Overshield, so very synergetic. And then again, we have the 2 points from Conjunction, so you could use this. The Technomancer with the Ordnance damage on Eldritch Blast is nice too, but I don't think it outweighs Team Witch by any extent. Now, shields. Watts for Dinner is by far the best shield in the game, getting a 25% bonus shock damage when we have Overshield, which, again, we don't have no problem with doing so this is nice. I also like, if you can find the Amp Roll, this one literally took me like 12 hours of farming. 35% of our shields get drained for 150% gun damage. This is insane because that extra gun damage actually gives us more life steal back, which means that we can sustain this. It's silly how powerful this gets. I also have the Blind Box. This gives us any Jacob's License parts, give that 1 extra ricochet, and I have terrible rolls on this, but you'd like to get something that increases your overall damage or critical hit damage. Both of those would be nice. But the increased Jacob's Bounce Pass is really nice when you consider some of these items that we'll be getting to. I also like to use the Vivisecting Throwing Knife, still one of the best, although Slippy can be good, and it can also get a healing version of Slippy, although healing is not really anything we need to worry about. Waterfall is an okay grenade, and even the Atling Gun or Streamers are fun, but Vivisecting Throwing Knife, it doesn't take much time to throw, it gives us a critical hit, and we got, again, critical hits give us a kill skill, so we get more damage back out of it. And since we're going to be using Witchy Trigger Finger to constantly be firing our gun, we don't need to really worry about heavy ordnance. I also like to use the triple bypass here with Leech. This gives us 30% lifesteal for 10 seconds. Basically, if you pop this, you're not going to go down because you have so much other lifesteal, and then this further boosts your lifesteal, and again, it applies to our shields. I also like to get the Leech attunement, or if you can get not just the Leech attunement, there's other good rolls like Amp for the increased gun damage if you're using a sniper rifle. Tank will reduce the damage you take for 10 seconds, so this can be fun as well. And for the Firmware, this is, in my opinion, the best choice, going with High Caliber. Bullets will become piercing, which means if you have a Jacobs one, they go through, hit one target, pierce, hit another target. If it's 2 crits, they chain around and ricochet, and we get an extra ricochet off of those. So it becomes really silly when you combine all these pieces together, and it increases our gun damage. Now, I'm also using the Deadeye. 2 Deadeye is nice because this will give us increased critical hit damage. 3 stacks will give us crit damage for every crit, and this actually is nice too if you don't got 2 points of high caliber. 3 Deadeye, 2 high caliber would also be nice. I'm also going to mention Real Big Fist because the Mantra is such an insanely powerful weapon, and we'll get to that in just a second, but 3 high crucible caliber and 2 Deadeye works best, or 3 Deadeye and 2 high caliber. Now, the Mantra. This weapon was released in the latest DLC update, and it is a beast of a weapon. You can get the Jacobs roll on it, which is nice. It deals melee damage, and you may notice we did not spec melee damage. However, you can still make this insane because you don't need to do anything with your gun damage when you use the bare arm specialization. This makes melee damage benefit from gun damage increases. So yeah, those 120% gun damage increases we get here, then add 60% gun damage to our melee damage. And the funniest part is, it says it deals melee damage. It deals gun damage and melee damage. So we get 120% boost to the damage and then a 60% boost to the damage because it counts as both damage types. So you double dip in all your abilities. This weapon is absurd. If you get the Ripper part, it fires really fast too, and you can get a Maliwan switcher. This I farmed a long time, and I was so glad to get it. It's worth grabbing. Now, if you don't have that, the Dark Beast is another fantastic weapon. What's great about the Dark Beast is it naturally pierces, and they buffed it recently to do a 20% chance of exploding, doing a ton of damage, and especially so to vile crystals, because it's an explosion. I don't have the perfect roll for this, but you can get a Maliwan switcher if you want to get like a shock or a fire damage version of it. You can also get an or you can get a Daedalus switcher that turns into a shotgun, and the shotgun shoots and pierces through multiple enemies. It's an insane amount of damage. I'd highly recommend the shotgun version of that. I have it on another character, but it's still, even without any of that, it's really good. You wouldn't need high caliber because it naturally does pierce bullets. So I also really like the Bleeding Stray. If you can get a Stray sniper rifle, it'll automatically home in its bullets on targets, and you can still aim it if you want to. So it does have a bit of skill. Ripper parts on this make it shoot faster, and Jacob's License accessory. The bod, everyone knows how good this weapon is. It explodes. You can stack up bullets. Now, the way that it works is that you want to not detonate it. You want to continue to keep getting more pellets. As you see, 3% for each pellet that hits a target. It shoots 5 of these. That's 15% more damage every time that we land all of our shots. With the Witchy Trigger Finger, we can shoot it, replenish our ammo. It doesn't count as reloading, so we keep shooting, scaling the damage up to near infinite amounts, and then once we reload or switch the underbarrel, it's going to basically one-shot the boss. I also like the Rooker, which was added in a previous DLC update. This is kind of like Michael Rooker Yondu from Guardians of the Galaxy. You get a needle that can shoot around, you can shoot around and aim, and it's going to just destroy any shield-based enemies. The Complex Root is a nice one, especially if you can get like a fire and shock version of it, especially with the Jacob's License accessory. This shoots and it chains around multiple times and hits enemies multiple times. It's really good. The Burt's Bees, another fantastic weapon, especially if you can get like a underbarrel taser or fire flamethrower. I also want to mention the Sweet Embrace from Moxie is a very powerful weapon that you can get, and it's really nice. TK's Wave, another solid weapon. It's got some pretty heavy hitting pellets. The 7th Sense pistol can kind of work here. If you have the Ripper parts, it may be a little bit more difficult to use with your Witchy Trigger Finger, but the final one I want to recommend is the Wombo Combo. This doesn't have Jacob's accessories, but it's got rockets. I slightly prefer Dark Beast now over it, but it's still really fun. So what this looks like in combat is actually absurd. So we want to be using our Witchy Trigger Finger there, because if we don't spam that, you see we reload, but you can even see how fast the damage is just, deleting this boss in Ultimate Vault Hunter 6. For certain setups and weapons, you may actually want to swap from Vibe Check to Heart Pierce so you can shoot it a little bit quicker, because you do have to hit enemies to be able to replenish this. And here's what it's going to look like here if we actually use a Heart Pierce so we can keep spamming the bullets. Wasn't fast enough. We ended up this is a moment where I mentioned actually using the magazine size increase can be nice, because sometimes that extra amount of time can mean that you can shoot off your Eldritch Blast to get your ammunition back. As you see, it's not doing an insane amount of damage this time around. We also didn't have our kill skills activated very well, but those are they come down to luck, because you got to get the critical hits, and it's a 5% chance. And to show off the absurdity of the bod, if you're not currently aware, so basically you're just going to keep shooting this, and we're not getting a very good time. Basically you can shoot a few times and then Eldritch Blast. Just basically make sure you have 1 ammunition left in it. This is another case with this particular bod that I'm using that I don't have the extra ammo, but you The trick is to put as many pellets on this boss as possible, because then when we actually go to reload, this is going to just explode and deal a crazy amount. As we saw, I accidentally reloaded, and it just shredded his health. Almost forgot to mention specializations, but now with caffeine, essentially get our action skill back. Riddle you this 50% gun damage, which actually is 75% on the mantra because of the bear arms. You don't have to use this if you're not using the mantra. You can also use I am a gun, which will then add action or gun skill damage onto our action skill, which is really nice for the Eldritch Blast because it also heals us. And if you don't use the bear arms, you can use something like the best defense, which gives us extra damage when our shield is full, and we got overshield and healing. So, and finally, this is what the Dark Beast ends up looking like. It's absurd the damage that this thing does, and it's got a huge magazine, so you can continue to spam it, and it's going to be one of the better weapons to use against Bloom Reaper and Invincible. But that is the most overpowered Vex build leading into the Bounty Pack 2. Let me know if you'd like to see some more Borderlands 4 content. It's been a while since I made a video on Borderlands 4, but I've still been playing it here and there. Really enjoy it. I'm excited to see the future content. So subscribe for more Borderlands 4 content. We'll catch y'all in the next one.